The funeral is over, the body is gone, yet the house still feels as if someone never left. A familiar fragrance suddenly appears. Footsteps seem to cross an empty room. The departed returns in the same dream again and again. Is this only grief, or can a soul remain attached to the home it once loved? Vedic wisdom teaches that death ends the body, but it may not immediately end fear, unfinished duties, possessive love, or the powerful feeling of, "This is mine." Some souls move forward peacefully, while others continue looking backward toward the people, possessions, and memories they cannot release. But what truly holds a soul near its former home, and how can the family help it move forward? Stay until the 7th lesson, because the final revelation explains the one thing families must never do after a loved one dies. If you value ancient wisdom about death, karma, and the soul's hidden journey, subscribe to Akashic Vedas and begin this sacred mystery with us. Lesson 1. Death ends the body, but not every attachment. The moment the final breath leaves the body, something extraordinary happens. The physical journey ends, but the soul's inner journey continues. The body becomes still, yet the mind may still carry powerful impressions: love, fear, desire, responsibility, and the deep belief that says, "This home is mine, these people belong to me, I cannot leave them." Vedic wisdom teaches that whatever dominates our consciousness can influence the direction of our journey. If a person spends an entire lifetime strongly attached to a house, possessions, family members, or worldly identity, death may not erase those bonds in a single moment. The body has been released, but the consciousness may continue looking backward. Imagine a bird whose cage door has suddenly opened. It is free, yet it remains inside because the cage is the only world it has ever known. In the same way, a soul may no longer be physically imprisoned, but its memories can become invisible walls. It may remain oriented toward familiar rooms, cherished objects, or loved ones, not because the house has power over the soul, but because attachment has power over the mind. This is why the ancient sages repeatedly warned against excessive possessiveness. Their message was not that we should stop loving our family or caring for our home. They taught us to love deeply without believing that anything in this temporary world belongs to us forever. A home is a shelter for the body, not the permanent residence of the soul. Wealth can serve us, but it cannot travel with us. Family members can walk beside us for many years, but every soul must eventually continue along its own karmic path. When death arrives, the soul does not suffer because it loved too much. It struggles because love became possession, care became control, and belonging became an inability to let go. This is the first great revelation. Some souls appear unwilling to leave their homes because, within their consciousness, they never prepared themselves to leave anything behind. True spiritual preparation begins while we are alive. Every act of detachment gently teaches the soul, "I am grateful for everything, but I own nothing. I love everyone, but I cannot hold anyone forever. This world is part of my journey, but it is not my final home." When this truth is understood before death, the soul can move forward with peace. But when it is ignored, even the most beautiful home may become an invisible chain. Lesson 2. Sudden death can leave the soul confused. Not every soul receives time to understand that death is approaching. Some people grow old, weaken gradually, and begin to release the world little by little. But when death arrives without warning, through an accident, sudden illness, violence, or an unexpected event, the transition may be very different. One moment, the person is making plans, speaking to loved ones, and believing tomorrow will come. The next moment, the physical body can no longer respond, yet the subtle consciousness may still be filled with the force of unfinished thoughts. What happened to me? Why can no one hear me? Why is my family crying? I must return home. Vedic and later Hindu traditions describe the period after death as a transition in which consciousness separates from its former physical identity. When death is sudden, that separation may be accompanied by confusion because the person had no opportunity to prepare, surrender, or say goodbye. Imagine waking inside a dream, so realistic that you do not yet realize you are dreaming. You see familiar rooms and recognize familiar faces, but nothing responds as it once did. In the same way, a disoriented soul may remain drawn toward the home because it is the strongest symbol of safety, identity, and belonging it remembers. It is not always refusing the divine journey out of rebellion. It may simply be trying to return to the last place where life still made sense. This is why the atmosphere created by the family after a sudden death matters so deeply. Constantly calling the departed back, desperately begging for a sign, or repeatedly saying, "Please do not leave us," may strengthen the emotional pull of the home. The words arise from love, but they can carry the message that the soul must remain responsible for those who are still living. The more compassionate message is not, "Come back to us," but "Go forward peacefully. You are loved. Your earthly duties are complete. We release you into the care of the divine." Sacred prayers, peaceful remembrance, charity performed in the departed person's name, and sincere acts of forgiveness can help transform the home from a place of emotional imprisonment into a place of blessing. The purpose of these practices is not to command the soul or feed fear. It is to replace confusion with peace and attachment with permission. The second great revelation is this: when a soul appears unable to leave its former home, it may not be the walls holding it there. It may be the shock of an ending it never saw coming. The living cannot rewrite the moment of death, but they can change what their love communicates afterward. Instead of pulling the departed backward through despair, they can gently point the way forward through prayer, acceptance, and release. Lesson 3. Possessions can become invisible chains. A person may leave the world with empty hands, yet the mind can still be gripping everything it once called its own. The house built over decades, the land inherited from ancestors, the jewelry hidden in a wooden chest, the money carefully protected, the room no one else was allowed to enter. These objects remain behind when the body dies. But according to Vedic wisdom, the attachment formed around them can continue as a powerful impression within consciousness. This is one of death's most uncomfortable truths. We do not take our possessions with us, but we may carry the desire to possess them. Imagine someone who spent an entire lifetime saying, "This is my house. This wealth belongs to me. No one must touch these things after I am gone." When death comes, the legal owner may change in a single day, but the inner sense of ownership may not disappear so quickly. Family members begin moving furniture, opening locked rooms, dividing property, wearing jewelry, or selling land. To the departed consciousness, if it remains strongly attached, these changes may feel like a violation rather than the natural continuation of life. The soul itself is eternal and cannot be owned by the material world. Yet the mind that accompanied earthly life may still be filled with samskaras, the deep impressions created by repeated thoughts, emotions, and actions. If possessiveness was strengthened every day, then the final breath may remove the body without immediately removing the habit of saying, "Mine." This is how a beautiful home can become an invisible chain. The bricks do not imprison the departed. The doors do not lock the soul inside. The chain is created by consciousness returning again and again to the same objects, the same rooms, and the same fear that others will take what it once guarded. Consider two people living in equally beautiful homes. The first sees the house as a temporary blessing. They care for it, share it generously, welcome others, and understand that one day it will belong to someone else. The second builds their entire identity around possession. Their pride, security, power, and sense of importance all depend upon what they own. Outwardly, both people possess a house. Inwardly, only one of them is possessed by it. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that attachment grows from constant contemplation. What the mind repeatedly dwells upon begins to command the heart. Attachment produces desire, and when desire is obstructed, suffering follows. This principle does not suddenly become meaningless at death. If the mind has spent decades circling around wealth and ownership, it may continue moving in that familiar direction when the body is gone. This may explain why later Hindu traditions caution families against turning the days after death into a battlefield over inheritance. Arguments over money, accusations about jewelry, anger over land, and selfish conflict can fill the home with the very emotions that bound the departed during life. If the deceased was already worried about the family's unity, hearing their name used in conflict may deepen the symbolic pull of the household. What was gathered to provide security then becomes the cause of unrest. The solution is not to fear every object that belonged to the departed. A photograph is not dangerous. A garment does not trap a soul. A favorite chair is not secretly holding someone's presence. Vedic spirituality does not ask us to become superstitious about ordinary belongings. The deeper teaching concerns the emotional relationship surrounding those belongings. The living should handle the departed person's possessions with dignity, calmness, gratitude, and fairness. Objects may be donated, shared, preserved, or passed to others according to family needs and tradition. What matters is that these actions are not performed with greed, hatred, or the belief that the person continues to own everything from beyond death. When giving away something that belonged to a loved one, the family may silently offer a peaceful thought. May the goodness connected with this gift accompany your onward journey. We receive your memory with gratitude, but we release your possessions from conflict. Charity can become especially meaningful because it transforms attachment into service. Food offered to someone hungry, clothing given to someone in need, or assistance provided in the departed person's memory changes the energy of ownership into generosity. Something that once said, "This belongs to me," now says, "May this benefit another." That transformation carries a profound spiritual lesson for both the departed and the living. But there is an even deeper warning hidden here. People often believe they are preparing for death because they have written a will, divided their property, or explained where valuables are kept. These are wise, practical steps, but spiritual preparation requires something more difficult: removing ownership from the heart before ownership is removed from the hands. Can you enjoy a possession without allowing it to define you? Can you build a home while remembering that your soul is only a guest there? Can you protect what has been entrusted to you without becoming terrified of losing it? Can you bless the people who will inherit your belongings instead of imagining that they are taking something away from you? These questions reveal whether you own your possessions or whether your possessions own you. The third great revelation is that some souls may appear to remain near their homes because their identity became woven into the things inside them. The house was no longer simply where they lived, it became who they believed they were. When the body died, they could not understand how the home continued without them. Therefore, the ancient teaching of non-attachment is not a rejection of comfort, family, or prosperity. It is preparation for freedom. It teaches us to hold every blessing with open hands, knowing that whatever enters our life must one day pass into another form. Before sleeping each night, remember this simple truth: nothing here is truly mine. It has been entrusted to me for a little while. If this understanding reaches the heart while we are alive, then when the final moment arrives, the soul will not stand at the doorway looking backward. It will bless the home, release what remains inside, and move toward the next stage of its sacred journey without carrying the weight of a single possession. Lesson 4. The family's grief can call the soul backward. Sometimes the strongest force holding a departed soul near the home is not hidden inside the house. It is living inside the hearts of the people who remain there. After death, the rooms may look exactly the same, but everything feels different. An empty chair becomes painful to see. A familiar cup remains untouched. A bedroom door is kept closed, because opening it makes the loss feel too real. Family members replay the final conversation, search for meaning in every sound, and whisper the departed person's name into the silence, hoping for one more sign. This is the natural language of grief. It does not mean that the family is weak, faithless, or doing something wrong. When love has been woven into daily life for many years, the heart cannot immediately understand how someone so familiar has suddenly become invisible. Yet Vedic wisdom asks us to recognize a delicate spiritual danger. Grief can honor the departed, but desperate attachment can also call them backward. Imagine a traveler standing at the entrance to a distant path. Ahead lies a journey that must be completed. Behind, the people they love are crying, holding out their hands and begging, "Do not leave us. Come back. We cannot live without you." Even if the traveler knows they must continue, those voices make every step more difficult. This is the emotional condition that may arise after death. If the family repeatedly calls the departed person back, refuses to accept the transition, or believes that healing would somehow betray their love, the home may remain filled with a powerful message. Your place is still here. You are still needed. You must not go. Love becomes a rope, not because it is cruel, but because it is frightened. Later Hindu traditions surrounding death therefore place great importance on prayer, remembrance, sacred recitation, ritual offerings, and acts of charity. These practices are not merely social customs. At their best, they help the living communicate something spiritually necessary. We love you, but we release you. Your body has completed its work. Your earthly role has ended. May you continue toward peace. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that the embodied self passes through changing conditions, just as the body passes from childhood to youth and old age. Death is another transition, not the destruction of the eternal self. But this truth can be difficult to feel when the person we love is no longer sitting beside us. The mind understands the teaching, while the heart continues waiting for the door to open. This is where spiritual maturity begins. It does not ask us to stop crying. It asks us to stop using our tears to demand the impossible. There is a profound difference between saying, "I miss you," and saying, "You must return." There is a difference between preserving a memory and refusing to permit a journey. There is a difference between loving the person and keeping their identity trapped inside the role they once played. A mother may have spent her whole life protecting her children. Even in her final moments, her greatest concern may have been, "Who will care for them when I am gone?" If those children continually cry, "We cannot survive without you," that fear may remain symbolically alive within the family's consciousness. But when they say, "You taught us well, we will care for one another, your duty is complete," they transform helpless grief into a blessing of release. A father may have believed that the entire household depended upon him. After his death, if every family member collapses into fear and says, "Everything is finished without you," the identity of protector remains emotionally active. But if the family honors his teachings, lives responsibly, and continues with courage, they send a different message. Your work was not wasted. What you gave us now lives within us. A husband or wife may feel unable to release a lifelong companion. Their side of the bed remains untouched. Their clothes remain arranged as before, and every quiet moment becomes a conversation with the past. None of this is shameful. Grief needs gentleness and time. But eventually, love must change its form. The relationship cannot continue through physical presence, so it must become gratitude, prayer, remembrance, and inner strength. If love refuses to change, it becomes suffering. Many people also feel guilty when they begin to heal. They laugh for the first time after months of sadness and immediately think, "How can I be happy when they are gone?" They remove an old belonging and feel as though they have erased the person. They make a new decision and worry that they are leaving their loved one behind. But healing is not abandonment. Continuing your life does not mean you have forgotten the dead. It means you are allowing their love to become a source of strength instead of a permanent wound. If the departed loved you, would they truly want their memory to destroy every remaining day of your life? Would a caring mother want her children to stop living? Would a loving partner want the other person to remain imprisoned in sorrow? Would a compassionate father want his family to turn the home into a shrine of endless pain? True love does not demand that life stop. True love blesses life to continue. This does not mean families should erase photographs, throw away every possession, or stop speaking the person's name. Those extreme actions are not required for release. The deeper issue is the intention behind remembrance. A photograph can awaken gratitude, or it can become a doorway into denial. A room can preserve dignity, or it can become a place where time is forbidden to move. A memory can inspire love, or it can be used to reopen the same wound every day. The object is not the chain. The emotion surrounding it becomes the chain. There is another danger that often appears during grief: the desperate search for signs. Someone hears a sound at night, sees movement in the corner of a room, dreams of the departed, or notices a familiar fragrance. Immediately the mind concludes, the soul is still here. But grief changes perception. The brain remains trained to expect the presence of someone who was part of daily life. A dream may be the heart processing loss. A sound may have an ordinary cause. A fragrance may be linked to memory. Some experiences may feel spiritually meaningful, but not every experience proves that a soul is trapped inside the home. The wise response is neither fear nor obsession. Receive a comforting dream with gratitude, but do not build your entire life around interpreting signs. Offer a peaceful prayer, but do not continually demand contact. Remember the departed, but do not invite confusion by trying to pull them back into the world they have left. A loving family can create a simple practice of release. They may sit together calmly, light a traditional lamp where appropriate, offer sincere prayer, remember the person's good qualities, forgive old wounds, and speak words of peace. We are grateful for the time we shared. We release all anger, guilt, debt, and unfinished pain. You do not need to remain for our sake. May you move toward light, truth, and the next stage of your journey. These words are not magical commands. Their power lies in what they change within the living. They calm the atmosphere of the home, soften unresolved emotions, and replace desperate possession with sacred acceptance. Forgiveness is especially important. Sometimes grief is mixed with regret. I should have called more often. I should not have spoken those harsh words. I should have been present at the end. The living may punish themselves, believing their guilt keeps them connected to the departed. But guilt does not repair the past. It only keeps both memory and love trapped inside the moment of pain. If an apology was never spoken, speak it now within your heart. If forgiveness was never offered, offer it now. If gratitude was hidden behind pride, express it now. Then release the expectation of receiving a visible answer. The deepest communication may not be a sign from the departed. It may be the peace that enters your heart when nothing more needs to be said. The family must also avoid turning the departed person into the center of constant conflict. When relatives argue about funeral decisions, inheritance, responsibility, or old resentments, they may repeatedly invoke the deceased as a weapon. This is what they wanted. They loved me more. They promised this to me. You failed them. Such words do not honor a soul. They keep the person's memory tied to anger and division. If you truly wish to honor the departed, become more united because they lived. Feed someone in their memory. Repair a broken relationship. Continue a good habit they taught you. Protect the vulnerable people they cared about. Let their life produce goodness after their death. This is how grief becomes sacred. In the ancient understanding, fire transforms the physical offering and carries it beyond its previous form. Grief must undergo a similar transformation. At first it burns because something precious has been taken away, But through wisdom, prayer, and time, the same fire can become illumination. It can reveal what truly matters, awaken detachment, and remind the living that every embrace is temporary. The fourth great revelation is that a departed soul may seem drawn toward home because the emotional atmosphere keeps repeating one message: you still belong here. The family may unknowingly strengthen that pull whenever love becomes a refusal to release. The answer is not to love less. It is to love more purely. Pure love says, I will not hold you back simply because I am afraid to stand without you. I will carry your goodness, but I will not imprison your journey. I will grieve your absence, but I will not turn my grief into a command for you to return. One day, every person we love will have to release us, or we will have to release them. This is not the failure of love. It is the final test of love. Possessive love says, stay because I need you. Sacred love says, go peacefully because your journey must continue. When a family finds the courage to speak that second message, the house begins to change. The rooms may still hold memories and tears may still come, but the atmosphere no longer feels like a hand pulling backward. It becomes a quiet blessing pointing forward. The departed is remembered without being summoned, honored without being possessed, and loved without being chained. That is how the living open the door that grief had unknowingly closed. Lesson 5. Unfinished duties may keep the soul oriented toward home. There are people who do not fear death for themselves. They fear what will happen to everyone else after they are gone. A mother worries about the child who still depends upon her. A father fears that his family will not survive without his protection. A grandparent carries a secret that was never revealed. A husband dies before fulfilling an important promise. A woman leaves behind a relationship that was never healed. Another person departs while a debt remains unpaid, a responsibility remains unfinished, or words of forgiveness remain trapped inside the heart. The body may stop, but the emotional force of these duties does not always feel complete. Vedic wisdom teaches that human life is shaped by karma, but karma is more than punishment and reward. It includes action, intention, responsibility, and the impressions created by everything we repeatedly think, feel, and do. Every role we accept, parent, child, spouse, protector, teacher, provider, or leader, creates patterns within consciousness. When someone identifies completely with one of these roles, they may feel unable to exist without performing it. Death then appears not only as the end of the body, but as the interruption of an unfinished mission. Imagine a father who spent 40 years believing, if I do not protect this family, everything will collapse. He wakes early, works through illness, solves every crisis, controls every decision, and never teaches his children how to stand without him. His love is sincere, but his identity becomes inseparable from being needed. If death comes suddenly, what is the strongest thought that may remain? It may not be fear of the unknown. It may be, I cannot leave, they are not ready. The family may strengthen this thought by repeating, what will we do without him? He handled everything. We are helpless now. Their despair confirms the very fear he carried throughout life. A mother may leave behind a young child, and her last thoughts may be filled with desperate concern. She may have spent every day watching, feeding, comforting, and protecting that child. Death does not give her time to see who will take her place. If the family continually cries, your child needs you, how could you leave? The emotional bond remains centered upon the unfinished duty. This does not mean the love between parent and child is wrong. It means that love must eventually surrender its physical form. The departed parent cannot continue raising the child through the same body, but the values, sacrifices, prayers, and love they planted can continue through those who remain. When the family accepts this responsibility and says, we will protect this child, your love will continue through our actions, they provide the reassurance that unfinished duty has been transferred into trustworthy hands. This is one of the most compassionate gifts the living can offer the dead, the assurance that life will continue and necessary responsibilities will be carried forward. Unfinished duty does not always involve family care. Sometimes it takes the form of an unfulfilled promise. A person may have promised to educate a child, support an elderly parent, complete a sacred offering, repay borrowed money, protect family land, or reconcile two relatives. If death interrupts that promise, the mind of the departed may remain symbolically turned toward the place where fulfillment was expected. The living cannot complete every promise exactly as the departed intended. Circumstances change, resources may be limited, and some intentions may never have been known. But when a genuine responsibility is clear and morally reasonable, completing it can bring peace to the family and dignity to the person's memory. If a debt is known, repay it when possible. If an important document was left unresolved, settle it honestly. If someone depended upon the departed for food, medicine, education, or protection, do not abandon them. If a promise of charity was made, fulfill it within your means. If two relatives were meant to reconcile, let the death become a reason to end the conflict rather than deepen it. These actions should not be performed from terror, as though the departed will punish the family if everything is not done perfectly. Fear turns spiritual responsibility into superstition. The purpose is to restore order, complete what can be completed, and release the emotional weight surrounding the death. Sometimes the most powerful unfinished duty is not practical at all. It is emotional. A final conversation ended in anger. A son stopped speaking to his father. Two sisters carried resentment for years. A husband wanted to apologize but kept waiting for the right moment. A mother died believing her child hated her. Death arrived before anyone found the courage to say, "I forgive you, I was wrong," or "I still love you." Afterward, the home becomes heavy with unspoken words. The living replay every argument and imagine a different ending. They may dream of the departed repeatedly, hear their voice in memory, or feel as though a conversation is still waiting to be completed. In such moments, people often ask, "Can they hear me now?" No one should pretend to know with certainty how every post-death experience unfolds. The Vedic and later Hindu traditions offer spiritual frameworks, but they do not give ordinary people permission to make absolute claims about a particular soul. What we can know is that sincere confession, forgiveness, and prayer can transform the heart of the living. If you were wrong, admit it without defending yourself. Speak privately from the heart. "I am sorry for the pain I caused. I release my pride. I ask forgiveness, and I forgive you." May neither of us remain bound to that moment. If the departed hurt you, forgiveness does not require denying what happened. It does not mean calling injustice acceptable. It means refusing to let the wound become the permanent bridge between your consciousness and theirs. You may say, "What happened caused me pain, but I no longer wish to carry hatred. I release you from my demand that the past become different, and I release myself from living inside it." This form of forgiveness closes a door that anger keeps open. Some people die while carrying secrets. They may have hidden money, concealed a relationship, kept silent about a family truth, or protected information they believed would cause harm. After death, relatives become obsessed with discovering what was never said. They search rooms, question one another, and interpret every strange event as a message from the departed. But not every secret must be uncovered for a soul to move forward. The living must learn to distinguish genuine responsibility from restless curiosity. If information is necessary to protect someone, settle a legal matter, or prevent injustice, seek it calmly through practical means. If the secret serves only gossip, blame, or emotional drama, allowing it to rest may be the wiser act. Peace does not require knowing everything. There are also people who die while an important creation remains unfinished. A book, a temple, a garden, a family business, a work of art, or a mission of service. Their life's energy was poured into something that still stands incomplete. The family may feel obligated to finish it exactly as imagined, believing that abandoning the project would betray the person. Sometimes completing the work is a beautiful tribute. At other times, continuing it would damage the family, consume resources, or force someone to live a life they never chose. Vedic discernment does not demand blind attachment to form. The deeper question is, what sacred intention lived behind the unfinished work? Perhaps the temple project represented devotion. If the building cannot be completed, the family can honor that devotion through another sincere act of service. Perhaps the garden represented care for the earth. If the property must be sold, trees can be planted elsewhere in the person's memory. Perhaps the family business represented protection and stability. If no one can continue it, selling it responsibly and caring for dependents may fulfill the intention more faithfully than preserving the exact structure. The soul's legacy is not always the unfinished object. It may be the value the object was meant to express. This distinction can free families from carrying unnecessary burdens. They do not have to recreate the departed person's entire life. They only need to preserve whatever goodness is worthy of continuing. Another form of unfinished duty arises when a person dies while feeling responsible for a conflict. Perhaps two children stopped speaking because of the parents' choices. Perhaps property was distributed unfairly. Perhaps harsh words divided the household. After the person dies, every gathering becomes tense, and their name remains at the center of resentment. Family members may believe they honor the departed by defending their side, but endless division only keeps the wound active. A more sacred response is to ask, what act would bring greater truth, fairness, and peace now? Correct an injustice if it can be corrected. Return what does not belong to you. Share resources fairly. Stop using the departed person's name to justify greed. Refuse to inherit hatred simply because it was passed down to you. A family often inherits more than wealth after a death. It inherits patterns. Pride, silence, fear, anger, addiction, secrecy, and control can be transmitted from one generation to another. When these patterns continue, it can feel as though the departed person still rules the home. Their body is absent, but their unresolved behavior remains alive in everyone else. The most powerful way to release such a legacy is not through fear of spirits. It is through the courage to end the pattern. If the departed ruled through anger, choose calmness. If they divided the family, practice reconciliation. If they lived in fear, cultivate trust. If they never expressed affection, speak love openly. If they sacrificed themselves until bitterness grew, learn to serve without destroying your own well-being. When a harmful pattern ends, something more meaningful than a ritual has taken place. Karma has changed direction. Vedic teachings repeatedly return to the importance of action. Thought matters, prayer matters, and intention matters, but transformation becomes visible through what we do. If you wish to bring peace to a departed loved one, allow their death to awaken more truthful action among the living. There is also a painful kind of unfinished duty that no human being can complete. The belief that one should have prevented the death. After an accident, illness, or sudden passing, someone in the family may think, I should have noticed the signs. I should have taken them to another doctor. I should have made one more call. If I had been there, they would still be alive. The mind creates endless alternate histories because accepting reality feels unbearable. This guilt can become a second death inside the home. It cannot change what happened, but it can prevent the living from continuing their own journey. It also keeps the memory of the departed tied to a single moment of helplessness rather than the whole meaning of their life. Responsibility should be faced honestly. If genuine negligence or wrongdoing occurred, it should not be hidden behind spiritual language. Truth, accountability, and appropriate repair are necessary. But many grieving people blame themselves for events they could not control. They confuse love with the power to defeat mortality. You were never promised the ability to save everyone you love. The human body is temporary. Disease, age, accident, and karma move through conditions larger than any one person's control. Accepting this does not make the loss less painful, but it prevents sorrow from turning into lifelong self-punishment. If the departed loved you, your destruction would not complete their unfinished duty. Living wisely would continue the education they wanted for you. Protect your health if they worried about it. Heal the relationship they hoped you would repair. Use the opportunity they sacrificed to provide. Become the kind of person their love was trying to help you become. This is how the unfinished work of love is completed. Ancient death observances often create a structured period for mourning because the heart needs movement. Without structure, grief can circle endlessly through the same thoughts. Ritual gives sorrow a direction. A prayer is spoken, an offering is made, relatives gather, duties are transferred, blessings are requested, and life gradually resumes. The external form varies across families, regions, and traditions, but the inner purpose remains profound. The family acknowledges that a transition has occurred. The departed no longer occupies the same role, and the living must now carry the responsibilities of earthly life. A ritual performed without understanding can become empty. But when performed with sincerity, it tells the mind, something has ended, something continues, and we must allow both truths to exist. The family should also be cautious of anyone who exploits grief by claiming to know exactly why a soul remains near the home. Fearful relatives can be manipulated by people who demand money, prescribe extreme actions, or insist that every illness, argument, dream, or sound is caused by the dead. True spiritual guidance should bring clarity, compassion, ethical action, and peace. It should not make the family terrified of its own home or dependent upon someone who claims exclusive power over invisible forces. If practical responsibilities remain, address them practically. If emotional wounds remain, approach them with honesty, counseling, prayer, and forgiveness. If religious observances matter to the family, seek guidance from a trustworthy and learned practitioner. But do not allow grief to become a doorway through which fear enters and takes control. The departed should be remembered with dignity, not turned into a source of terror. Sometimes family members say their presence feels strongest in the home because this is where they spent their entire life. That feeling can be understood without rushing to supernatural conclusions. Homes hold powerful memory associations. The mind connects rooms with voices, scents with people, and ordinary routines with love. When the person dies, those associations remain active. The first cup of tea in the morning feels incomplete. A gate opening sounds like their return. A certain hour of the evening brings the expectation that they will enter the room. Memory creates presence because the nervous system has not yet adjusted to absence. This does not make the experience meaningless. It reveals how deeply one life can be woven into another. But the healthiest response is to let memory become a blessing rather than evidence that the soul cannot leave. When a familiar feeling arises, you might say, "Thank you for the love connected to this moment. May that love become peace for both of us." Then return to life. Do not remain awake every night waiting for another sign. Do not stop using a room because the person once sat there. Do not frighten children with stories that the departed is watching or punishing them. Do not interpret every family problem as spiritual interference. Such beliefs can injure the living while falsely honoring the dead. A soul's journey should inspire reverence, not panic. There is a simple but powerful way to identify unfinished duty. Ask what the departed worried about most before death. Were they concerned about a child, a debt, a conflict, a promise, an elderly parent, or the unity of the family? Then ask what responsible action the living can take without losing themselves to fear. If the concern is real and solvable, act. If it cannot be solved, offer acceptance. If it belongs to the past, practice forgiveness. If it was based on excessive control, refuse to continue the pattern. If the duty has naturally ended, say so clearly within your heart, "You carried this for long enough." We will take responsibility for what remains. You are no longer required to guard this home, protect these possessions, or solve these problems. Your earthly duty is complete. These words can be especially healing when spoken by the person the departed worried about most. A grown child might say to a departed parent, "You prepared me. I will be all right." A spouse might say, "I will care for the family. You do not have to remain for me." A sibling might say, "I release our conflict. Nothing more is owed between us." Such statements do not erase grief, but they change its direction. Instead of reaching backward, love begins to point forward. The fifth great revelation is that some souls may appear unwilling to leave home because they believe their work there is unfinished. Their identity remains tied to someone they protected, something they promised, or a responsibility they carried for so long that they no longer know who they are without it. But no earthly role is eternal. A mother is more than motherhood. A father is more than provision. A teacher is more than students. A ruler is more than authority. A homeowner is more than property. These are sacred roles, but they are temporary garments, worn by the soul. When the garment falls away, consciousness must remember its deeper identity. The family can support this remembrance by refusing to keep the departed trapped inside an old title. Do not speak only of what they did for you. Remember who they were beyond their duties. Honor their kindness, courage, wisdom, humor, devotion, and humanity. Let them be more than the role that made them feel indispensable. Then take what they gave you and continue without demanding that they remain. A child eventually walks without holding the parent's hand. A family eventually learns to make decisions without the person who once guided them. A home eventually changes, new voices enter, old belongings move, and life creates new rhythms in familiar rooms. This continuation does not destroy the departed person's place in the family story. It completes it. Their purpose was never to make everyone permanently dependent. Their highest purpose was to give something that could live after they were gone. When the family becomes strong enough to carry that gift, the unfinished duty finds its completion. The protector no longer needs to guard the doorway. The mother no longer needs to stand beside the child's bed. The father no longer needs to worry about the next morning. The partner no longer needs to remain because the other person is afraid to live alone. Love has completed its earthly task and is free to become blessing. If you have lost someone who seemed unable to release their responsibilities, speak to them in the language of peace, not because you can prove they are listening, but because your own heart needs to express the truth. What you could finish, you finished. What remains, we now accept. We forgive what was imperfect. We are grateful for what was good. You do not have to carry our lives from beyond your death. We release you from every promise that can no longer be fulfilled, every duty that no longer belongs to you, and every fear that we will not survive without you. Continue your journey in peace. Then prove those words through your actions. Care for the vulnerable. Settle what is unsettled. End unnecessary conflict. Stop blaming the dead. Stop using grief as a reason to refuse your own responsibilities. Live so that the departed no longer needs to be imagined as standing behind you. The deepest way to honor someone who has died is not to keep calling them home. It is to become strong enough to let them leave. Lesson 6. Not every dream, sound, or shadow means a soul is trapped. The light flickers in the room where the departed once slept. Footsteps seem to cross an empty hallway. A familiar fragrance appears without explanation. The same person returns in a dream for several nights, standing silently inside the old home. At that moment, the grieving mind asks a frightening question. Is the soul still here? This question can quickly turn sorrow into fear. A family that once felt safe begins avoiding certain rooms. Children become afraid to sleep alone. Every sound in the night is treated as a message, every illness as a warning, and every disagreement as evidence that the departed is disturbed. But Vedic wisdom asks us to seek truth through discernment, not panic. It teaches that the visible world is not the whole of existence, yet it also warns that the ordinary mind can mistake its own fear, memory, and imagination for spiritual knowledge. Therefore, one of the most important lessons in understanding death is this: not everything unusual inside a grieving home proves that a soul has refused to leave. The mind is deeply shaped by repetition. If someone opened the same door at the same time every evening for 20 years, the family's senses learned to expect that sound. If a mother's perfume filled the hallway each morning, that fragrance became connected with her presence. If a father coughed before entering a room, the mind registered the cough as a signal that he was near. After death, these patterns do not vanish immediately. The person is gone, but the expectation remains. For a brief moment, the mind may still anticipate the familiar footsteps. It may turn toward the door before remembering that no one will enter. It may imagine hearing a voice inside the noise of running water or wind. It may awaken during the night with the powerful feeling that the departed is standing nearby. These experiences can feel completely real because grief does not live only in thought. It enters the body, the senses, sleep, memory, and perception. The nervous system continues searching for the person it has not yet learned to stop expecting. This is not foolishness, and it is not proof of madness. It is one way the human mind attempts to understand an absence too large to accept all at once. Dreams are among the most powerful of these experiences. A departed loved one may appear healthy, speak clearly, offer comfort, remain silent, or repeat the circumstances surrounding death. The dreamer may awaken crying, peaceful, frightened, or convinced that a true visitation occurred. Vedic traditions have long treated dreams as complex states of consciousness. Some dreams may arise from daily impressions, emotional memories, desires, bodily conditions, and unresolved fears. Other dreams may feel spiritually significant, but wisdom does not require us to force every dream into one explanation. A comforting dream may be received with gratitude without declaring, "This proves the soul is trapped in my home." A disturbing dream may reveal the dreamer's own guilt or fear, rather than the condition of the departed. A repeated dream may show that the heart is still struggling to complete a conversation, accept the death, or release an unfinished emotion. The meaning of a dream should be judged by what it produces. Does it bring humility, peace, compassion, and a readiness to live responsibly? Or does it create obsession, terror, sleeplessness, and dependence upon signs? A spiritually helpful experience usually turns the heart toward clarity. Fearful interpretation traps the mind inside endless questions. Suppose a woman dreams of her departed mother standing at the door of the old house. The mother says nothing, she only looks inside. The daughter might immediately believe, "My mother cannot enter, and her soul is trapped." But the dream could also represent the daughter's own inability to accept that the home has changed. The doorway may symbolize the boundary between memory and reality. The mother's silence may reflect words the daughter wishes she had heard. Rather than making a frightening conclusion, she can respond gently, "Mother, whatever this dream means, I love you. I forgive what needs forgiveness, and I release you in peace." Then she can observe whether her heart becomes calmer. This response honors the experience without surrendering reason. The same discernment must be used with physical sounds. Houses change temperature, wooden furniture expands and contracts, pipes move, wind enters small spaces, animals cross roofs and walls. Electrical systems produce flickering lights. Objects that seem firmly placed can shift and fall. When grief has made the family alert to every movement, ordinary events suddenly feel mysterious. A sound that would have been ignored before the death becomes frightening afterward, because the mind now searches for a connection. Before declaring that a departed soul caused something, check the natural explanation. Inspect the window, roof, wiring, pipes, furniture, and doors. This is not a rejection of spirituality. It is an expression of intelligence. True spirituality does not require us to deny the physical laws operating within the world. The ancient sages sought reality through disciplined observation, meditation, ethical living, and control of the senses. They did not teach people to treat every shadow as a supernatural presence. An uncontrolled mind projects fear onto what it cannot immediately understand. A disciplined mind pauses, observes, and refuses to make claims without sufficient clarity. There is also the experience of scent. A person suddenly smells incense, flowers, food, tobacco, medicine, or perfume associated with the deceased. The fragrance may appear briefly and disappear before anyone else notices it. Scent and memory are intimately connected. One fragrance can awaken an entire scene from childhood within a second. During grief, a remembered scent may become vivid enough to feel present. It may also have an ordinary source that has not yet been noticed. The experience can still carry emotional meaning. If a familiar fragrance reminds you of someone you loved, allow the memory to bring gratitude, but do not let it become a reason to fear your own home. You can simply say, "This reminds me of you. May your journey be peaceful, and may this memory teach me to love wisely." Then continue with your day. Some families interpret repeated disturbances as proof that the departed is angry about possessions, funeral decisions, or inheritance. A picture falls, and someone says, "They do not want us to sell the house." A bulb fails, and another relative claims, "They are warning us about the property." Soon every practical decision becomes controlled by imagined messages. This can be dangerous because it allows living people to use the dead to gain power. A relative may claim, "They came to my dream and said the land belongs to me." Someone else may insist, "Their spirit told me you must not marry." Another person may declare that the departed is punishing anyone who questions their interpretation. The dead cannot be brought into a family argument as witnesses whose words no one can verify. Property should be handled through lawful documents, fairness, honest testimony, and responsible guidance. Medical decisions should be made with qualified professionals. Serious family choices should not be controlled by one person's dream or claim of supernatural contact. A sincere dream may feel important to the dreamer, but it should not become a weapon against everyone else. The family must also be cautious of individuals who exploit fear after death. Some may confidently announce that a soul is trapped, angry, hungry, or demanding expensive rituals. They may claim exclusive power to communicate with the departed and insist that disaster will follow unless the family pays them. Grief makes people vulnerable because they desperately want certainty. They want to know where the loved one is, whether they are suffering, and what must be done to help. An unscrupulous person can turn that longing into dependence. Authentic spiritual guidance should not increase terror for personal profit. A trustworthy guide should respect tradition, encourage ethical action, acknowledge the limits of human knowledge, and bring the family towards steadiness. They should not threaten, manipulate, or promise absolute control over the destiny of a soul. If someone tells you, "Only I can release this soul," be cautious. The soul's journey is not a business transaction controlled by fear. Vedic teachings place great importance on karma, consciousness, sacred action, and divine order. No ordinary person can own that process or guarantee what lies beyond death. Families may perform traditional observances sincerely, but those observances should arise from devotion and respect, not blackmail. The most harmful consequence of fearful interpretation is that it can turn the memory of a loving person into a source of terror. A child who once felt safe with a grandparent may begin believing that the grandparent is hiding in the darkness. A widow may fear the husband she trusted throughout life. A family may stop speaking the departed person's name because they think doing so will invite a presence. This does not honor the dead. It distorts love through fear. Children require special protection during mourning. They naturally have vivid imaginations and may not understand the difference between symbolic language and literal reality. If adults say, "Grandfather is watching you from this room," a child may become terrified of being alone. If they say, "Your mother has not left the house," the child may wait endlessly for her return. Speak gently and truthfully. Explain that the person's body has died, the family still loves them, and their spiritual journey belongs to the care of the divine order, understood within your tradition. Avoid frightening details and do not force the child to interpret dreams or sensations as supernatural messages. If a child reports seeing or hearing the deceased, listen calmly without mocking or immediately confirming a paranormal explanation. Ask what happened, how it made them feel, and whether they are frightened. Reassure them that they are safe. Grief counseling or professional support may be valuable if the experience continues, causes distress, or disrupts daily life. Compassion and practical care are not enemies of spirituality. Adults also need help when grief becomes overwhelming. If someone cannot sleep for many nights, stops eating, becomes unable to function, hears commanding voices, feels constantly watched, develops intense fear, or considers harming themselves, the family should seek qualified mental health or medical support. Prayer can accompany treatment, but it should not replace necessary care. A grieving person may say, "If I see a doctor, does that mean I have no faith?" The answer is no. The body and mind are instruments through which human life is experienced. Caring for them is a responsible act. Just as one repairs a damaged roof, rather than calling every leak a spiritual sign, one should seek support when the mind is suffering. The ancient pursuit of truth requires honesty about what is happening. There is another subtle trap. The desire to receive signs can become stronger than the desire to heal. At first, a person asks for one dream to know that the loved one is safe. When a dream comes, they ask for another. Then they begin searching every day for numbers, songs, birds, shadows, and coincidences. Life becomes an endless attempt to maintain contact. The person is no longer grieving only the death. They are building a new identity around signs. This can prevent acceptance because the relationship remains suspended between presence and absence. The living person never fully returns to life, and the departed is never fully released into mystery. If you receive what feels like a meaningful sign, allow it to comfort you. But do not demand that the universe repeat it. Gratitude says, "That moment brought me peace." Attachment says, "I must experience it again, or I cannot continue." Wisdom knows when to bow and let the moment pass. Vedic philosophy invites us to examine the observer within. Who is the one hearing the sound? Who is seeing the dream? Who is interpreting the shadow? Between the experience and the conclusion lies the mind, with all its memories, fears, desires, and conditioning. Two people can hear the same sound and create entirely different meanings. One thinks, "The wind moved the door." Another thinks, "The departed is angry." The sound is the same. The interpretation changes the emotional world of the listener. This is why spiritual discernment begins with self-observation. Before deciding what an event means, ask, "Am I calm or terrified? Am I seeking truth or seeking confirmation of what I already fear? Have I checked ordinary causes? Is my interpretation making me more compassionate and responsible, or more suspicious and obsessed? Am I using this experience to heal, or am I using it to avoid accepting the death?" These questions protect the mind from deception. The concept of Maya is often simplified as saying that the world is unreal. A deeper understanding is that human perception can be misleading when we mistake appearances for ultimate truth. Fear creates its own Maya. It takes an uncertain event and covers it with a story so powerful that the story feels more real than the event itself. A curtain moves, and fear imagines a figure. A dream occurs, and guilt imagines punishment. A family argument begins, and superstition imagines an angry soul. Once the story is believed, every new event is interpreted as further evidence. Discernment breaks this cycle by returning to what is actually known. You heard a sound, that is known. You do not yet know its cause. You dreamed of the departed, that is known. You do not know with certainty whether the dream came from memory, grief, spiritual symbolism, or another source. This humility protects both faith and reason. It leaves room for mystery without allowing mystery to become terror. Some people may object, but what if the soul truly is unsettled? The wisest response remains the same. Act with calmness, prayer, ethical responsibility, and compassion. Fear will not help the departed. Obsession will not guide them. Family conflict will not bring peace. If you believe something remains unresolved, settle whatever is honestly within your control. Offer forgiveness. Complete a known responsibility. Perform appropriate traditional observances with trustworthy guidance. Give charity. Speak words of release. Keep the home clean, peaceful, and free from constant arguments. Then surrender what lies beyond your knowledge. You are responsible for your actions, not for controlling the unseen world. A peaceful home can be supported through simple practices. Open the windows and allow light and fresh air to enter. Resume ordinary routines gradually. Gather the family for calm prayer or sacred recitation according to your tradition. Remove unnecessary clutter with respect. Share meals. Speak of the departed person's good qualities without repeatedly reenacting the moment of death. If one room has become associated with terror, do not abandon it forever. Enter during daylight with trusted family members. Clean it, repair anything broken, and slowly return it to respectful use. Fear grows in avoided spaces. Gentle familiarity teaches the mind that the home is still a place for the living. Do not create dramatic ceremonies simply to frighten away what you have not established is present. The aim is peace, not battle. This matters because many people imagine the departed as an enemy who must be expelled. Yet the person may have been a beloved parent, partner, sibling, or child. Why should their memory suddenly become monstrous because death made their condition mysterious? If a spiritual act is performed, let it be an act of blessing and release, not hatred. Say, may all beings connected with this home find peace, may fear leave our minds, may truth guide us. May the departed continue according to divine order, and may the living fulfill their responsibilities with courage. Such words create no enemy. They place everyone within a wider field of compassion. It is also important to understand that a heavy atmosphere in the home can arise from the living. After death, relatives may stop cleaning, opening windows, cooking, laughing, or gathering together. Curtains remain closed. The house becomes silent. Every object is preserved exactly as it was on the final day. Naturally, the home begins to feel lifeless. People may then say, "The soul has made this place heavy," when the heaviness is being sustained by grief, neglect, conflict, and fear. Restoring light, order, movement, and human warmth can change the atmosphere without any dramatic spiritual explanation. The home needs permission to live again. This does not mean celebrating carelessly or pretending the loss never happened. It means recognizing that death has already taken one life. It should not be allowed to freeze every other life inside the house. Cook the food the person loved and share it with gratitude. Tell stories that include laughter as well as tears. Care for the plants they once watered. Continue a tradition they valued. Let children play again. Let sunlight enter the room. Life returning to the home is not disrespect. It is victory over despair. Another common experience is sensing the departed during anniversaries, festivals, birthdays, or family gatherings. The person's absence becomes especially vivid because these events once included them. The empty place feels almost occupied by memory. This is not necessarily evidence that the soul has returned. It may reveal that time itself carries emotional associations. The calendar opens a door inside the heart. Plan for these days. Gather supportive people. Perform a meaningful act of remembrance. Give food, offer prayer, visit a sacred place, or share one lesson the person left behind. By creating a conscious form for remembrance, you prevent grief from arriving as an unexpected wave that controls the entire day. Memory needs a respectful place, but it should not rule every place. Some dreams and experiences may remain impossible to explain. A person may receive information they did not consciously know. Two relatives may have similar dreams. A moment may occur with timing so precise that it feels sacred. Wisdom does not demand cynical dismissal. You can admit, "I do not know what happened, but it moved me deeply." The danger begins when uncertainty is replaced with absolute certainty. Human beings often want to turn a mysterious moment into a complete map of the afterlife. But one experience, however powerful, cannot explain the condition of every soul. Let mystery remain larger than your interpretation. The Upanishadic spirit of inquiry does not fear the unknown. It approaches the unknown with reverence, discipline, and humility. The deepest realities are not conquered through dramatic claims. They are approached through purification of the mind. A mind filled with greed will interpret signs through greed. A mind filled with guilt will interpret signs through guilt. A mind filled with fear will find fear everywhere. Therefore, the first place that must be purified after a death is not the house. It is the consciousness of those interpreting what happens inside it. When the mind becomes calmer, the home often becomes calmer as well. The sixth great revelation is that the question, "Is the soul still here?" may sometimes distract us from the more urgent question, "What is still unresolved within us?" Perhaps the guilt is ours, perhaps the fear is ours, perhaps the unfinished conversation is ours, perhaps the room feels heavy because we have not entered it since the funeral. Perhaps the dream repeats because we have not accepted the truth our waking mind keeps avoiding. Before assuming that the departed refuses to leave, ask whether the living have refused to move forward. This question can be painful, but it can also be liberating. The soul may have already entered another stage of its journey, while the family remains emotionally frozen inside the last day. The presence they feel may not be a soul trapped in the home. It may be love trapped inside memory. Memory does not need to be destroyed. It needs to be transformed. Let the voice you remember become guidance toward goodness. Let the hands that once protected you inspire you to protect someone else. Let the pain of absence teach you to be present with those who remain. Let the certainty of death remove pride, delay, and unnecessary conflict from your life. Then the departed continues through wisdom rather than fear. If you hear a sound at night, pause before creating a story. If you see the departed in a dream, receive the experience without becoming obsessed. If a familiar fragrance appears, let gratitude arise. If the house feels heavy, bring light, prayer, order, and human warmth back into it. If distress continues, seek trustworthy spiritual and professional support. Do not mock the mystery, but do not surrender your reason to it. Do not deny love, but do not let love become fear. Do not reject spiritual possibility, but do not turn every uncertainty into proof that a soul is trapped. The ancient path is a middle way of reverence and discernment. It recognizes that consciousness is deeper than the physical body, while reminding us that an uncontrolled mind can create suffering from appearances. The purpose of spiritual knowledge is liberation. Any interpretation that imprisons the living in terror should be examined carefully. The departed person's memory should eventually make the home more compassionate, not more frightening. Their life should remind the family to forgive sooner, love more openly, act more honestly, and prepare inwardly for their own final transition. When this happens, even the silence of an empty room changes. It no longer whispers, "Someone is trapped here." It says, "Someone lived here. Someone was loved here. And now that love must learn a new form." That is the difference between a haunted memory and a sacred memory. One holds the family inside fear. The other guides the family toward wisdom. And sometimes, The greatest act of love is to stop searching the shadows for the person who died and begin carrying their light into the life that still remains. Lesson 7. The soul cannot remain forever when karma calls it forward. No soul can turn the doorway of an earthly home into its eternal destination. It may look backward for a time. It may remain attached to familiar faces, possessions, promises, and memories. It may struggle to understand a sudden death or feel concern for those left behind. But according to the deeper vision of Vedic philosophy, the journey of consciousness does not end in the room where the body took its final breath. A greater law is already moving. That law is karma. Karma is often misunderstood as a system of punishment in which an invisible judge rewards the good and harms the bad. But the Vedic understanding is more subtle. Karma is the continuing movement of action, intention, impression, and consequence. Every thought strengthens a tendency. Every desire creates a direction. Every act plants a seed. Together, these seeds shape the journey of the individual being. Death does not destroy this movement. It removes one physical vehicle from the journey. The Bhagavad Gita compares the transition of the embodied being to leaving worn garments and taking new ones. The garment cannot decide the traveler's destination. The house where the garment was removed cannot permanently hold the traveler. What continues is the subtle momentum created through consciousness and action. This reveals an essential distinction. The eternal Atman, the deepest self described by the Upanishadic tradition, is never truly trapped inside a house, a body, or a grave. It is unborn, undying, and beyond material ownership. What may remain confused or attached is the individual consciousness, often understood through the subtle body and its impressions, desires, memories, and karmic tendencies. Therefore, when people say a soul refuses to leave its home, they are usually describing attachment within the journeying individual, not the imprisonment of the eternal self. The sun may appear trapped inside a pot of water because its reflection is visible there. If the pot breaks, the reflected image disappears, but the sun was never truly inside the pot. In the same way, the eternal self seems confined by body, identity, name, family, and place. Death breaks one vessel, yet consciousness may still identify with the reflection for a time. The spiritual journey is the awakening from that mistaken identity. During life, a person says, "I am this body, I am this name, I am the owner of this house, I am the father of these children, I am the keeper of this wealth, I am the person others admire or fear." These roles become so convincing that the individual forgets the silent awareness beneath them. Then death removes every role at once. The name remains in the mouths of others, but the person can no longer answer through the body. The house remains standing, but ownership has ended. Family members remain, but the departed cannot participate in daily life as before. Possessions remain visible, but the hands that guarded them have become still. If spiritual understanding was never cultivated, this sudden removal may create a powerful confusion. If I am no longer the body, the owner, the parent, or the protector, then who am I? Attachment to home may be an attempt to avoid this question. The familiar house offers the illusion that the old identity still exists. The individual consciousness remains oriented toward the room, the people, and the possessions, because they confirm the story it knew during life. But karma does not permit that story to remain unchanged forever. A river may circle around rocks, slow in a quiet pool, or gather leaves along its banks, but its deeper current continues toward the ocean. In the same way, attachment may slow the soul's willingness to release, but it cannot cancel the greater movement of karma. The current continues. This should not be understood as a frightening force dragging a helpless soul into darkness. Karma is not an enemy. It is the lawful unfolding of causes already created. It carries consciousness toward the conditions through which its remaining tendencies can be expressed, exhausted, understood, or transformed. If strong desires remain, conditions arise through which desire can continue its education. If unresolved tendencies remain, life presents circumstances that reflect them. If wisdom and detachment have been cultivated, the journey may become clearer and less bound. If the deepest realization dawns, the cycle itself is transcended. The house is only one scene within this vast process. A person may have lived there for 60 years and believe that nothing could be more permanent. Yet from the perspective of the soul's longer journey, even 60 years are a brief night spent beneath one roof. Before that home, there were other conditions. After that home, other conditions may arise. The soul's movement is larger than any single address, family name, or lifetime. This is why Vedic wisdom continually asks the living to remember impermanence before death arrives. The person who practices detachment while alive does not have to learn it entirely during the shock of transition. Detachment does not mean walking away from every responsibility. It means performing each responsibility without building an eternal identity around it. Care for your home, but remember that it will belong to someone else. Love your family, but remember that each person has an individual karmic journey. Earn wealth honestly, but remember that no coin can cross the boundary of death. Fulfill your duties, but do not imagine that the universe will collapse when your role ends. A wise person quietly prepares the heart to say, "I served here, but I was never meant to remain here forever." When that understanding is absent, the departed may seem to struggle. Yet even then, divine order has not abandoned them. The soul is not left alone simply because the family cannot see what follows. The living often imagine death as a doorway opening into empty darkness because physical eyes cannot look beyond it. But the inability to see a path does not prove that no path exists. A child inside the womb cannot imagine the world outside it. The womb is the child's entire universe, its shelter, nourishment, sound, and environment. Birth may feel like the destruction of that world, yet it is the entrance into a larger one. Death may be similar. What appears to the living as disappearance may be another form of passage. The departed may look backward because the home is familiar, just as a newborn might long for the security of the womb if it could consciously remember it. But no one can return permanently to the stage that has already completed its purpose. The soul must move. The Katha Upanishad presents death not merely as horror, but as a doorway into the deepest inquiry: what remains when the body falls? The seeker who understands the difference between the temporary and the eternal becomes free from the fear that everything ends with physical loss. The temporary changes. The eternal is not destroyed. This teaching also changes how we understand a soul's apparent attachment to home. The aim is not to frighten the departed away. The aim is to help consciousness remember that it belongs to something greater than the place it left behind. The family can support this through the quality of its remembrance. If every prayer is filled with panic, the emotional message remains confused. If every gathering becomes a desperate attempt to summon the person, attachment is strengthened. But if remembrance is filled with gratitude, forgiveness, and trust, the home becomes a place of release. The final lesson, therefore, carries a warning more important than every imagined sign. Never keep begging the departed soul to return. Do not repeatedly cry, "Come back to this house, show yourself to us, prove that you are still here. We cannot live unless you remain near us." These words may arise from unbearable pain, but they pull love in the wrong direction. You may miss the person, you may speak their name, you may cry until your body has no tears left. You may pray for peace and remember the life you shared. None of this is wrong, but do not turn grief into an invitation that asks the departed to reject their onward journey. If someone was standing at a riverbank and needed to cross, you would not show love by tying a rope around them and pulling them back every time they entered the water. You would bless them, trust the guide, and allow the crossing. The family's acceptance becomes that blessing. This does not mean one sentence has magical control over a soul. Human words do not overpower karma or command the unseen. Their importance lies in the emotional and spiritual direction they create. They teach the living to release, and they prevent the home from becoming organized around a constant demand for return. The family may say, "We love you, we remember you." Whatever remained unfinished, we will face with honesty. Whatever pain existed, we release. Whatever responsibilities remain, we accept. You do not need to stay because of our fear. May your journey continue in peace. Such words carry no command, possession, or desperation. They offer permission. Sometimes permission is what grief has forgotten to give. A widow may believe that releasing her husband means ending the marriage in her heart. A child may believe that healing means abandoning a parent. A mother may fear that if she stops crying for the child who died, the child will disappear completely. But love does not survive through constant pain. It survives through transformation. The physical relationship has ended, but the meaning of the relationship can continue. The husband's kindness may live in the way his wife treats others. The parent's wisdom may guide the child's decisions. The child's brief life may awaken compassion in everyone who remembers them. The departed does not need to remain in the house for love to remain in the family. Love is not a location. If a person lived beside a river and then journeyed to a distant land, the river would still carry memories of them, but it would not contain their whole existence. In the same way, a home may hold photographs, voices in memory, marks upon a wall, favorite objects, and stories passed through generations. These are traces of a life, not proof that the entire soul is confined there. The mistake begins when the family confuses memory with imprisonment. A room can preserve a memory without becoming a prison. A photograph can honor a life without summoning a presence. An anniversary can invite gratitude without reopening terror. The home can remain sacred while still changing. Change is not betrayal. Change is the law through which life continues. Everything the departed once knew inside the home will eventually change. Children will grow, furniture will move, walls will be painted, new people may enter, old possessions may be given away. Even the building itself will one day weaken, fall, or become unrecognizable. If the soul's peace depended upon the house remaining unchanged, peace would be impossible. Karma carries the individual forward, partly because nature never promises to preserve the stage that has ended. The body returns to the elements, possessions pass to others. Memories change in the minds of the living, time removes every form. The spiritual invitation is to discover what does not depend upon form. This is why sages left palaces, wealth, and inherited identity to seek the truth beneath appearance. They were not running away from life. They were trying to understand what death could not take. A house can be lost. A body can die. A relationship can change. A reputation can disappear. But the consciousness in which these experiences arise points toward a mystery deeper than any one of them. The soul that remembers this has no reason to cling to a doorway. Yet what about a person who lived without spiritual awareness, died in fear, and remained intensely attached? Does karma punish such a soul forever? No. Nothing in the world of change remains frozen forever, not even confusion. A storm may cover the sky, but it cannot destroy the sky. Clouds gather, move, and dissolve. In the same way, fear and attachment may temporarily cloud consciousness, but they are not equal to the eternal self. Karmic movement creates new conditions. Impressions rise and exhaust themselves. Guidance may appear according to the tradition's understanding of the unseen. The prayers and goodness of the living may become offerings of support. Eventually, the old identity loses its power because the circumstances that sustained it no longer exist. The soul cannot guard a house forever because the house itself will not remain forever. It cannot protect the same people forever because they too must age, die, and continue their journeys. It cannot own the same objects forever because those objects will decay, break, or pass into other hands. Time itself teaches detachment when wisdom has not yet taught it. This is both sobering and compassionate. It means no condition of attachment must be treated as an eternal curse. Families should not speak as though the departed is permanently doomed because something unusual occurred in the home. Such claims create fear without knowledge. The correct response is patience, prayer, responsible action, and trust in a law greater than personal anxiety. Karma does not mean that every death can be explained. It does not give us permission to blame the departed or the grieving family. Saying, "This happened because of bad karma," can become a cruel simplification of mysteries no ordinary person can calculate. Karma is vast, complex, and interwoven. Its purpose in this teaching is not to assign blame. It is to remind us that consciousness continues through lawful causes and does not remain forever suspended inside one physical location. The family does not need to solve the entire invisible journey. It needs to fulfill its own dharma. Dharma after a death means caring for the living, respecting the departed, settling necessary responsibilities, acting fairly, performing meaningful observances according to one's tradition, and refusing to let greed or fear control the household. If relatives are hungry, feed them. If children are frightened, reassure them. If property must be divided, act honestly. If an apology remains unsaid, speak it within the heart. If grief becomes unbearable, seek support. If a sacred rite is meaningful, perform it with sincerity and trustworthy guidance. Then release the result. This is an application of the Gita's central teaching. Human beings are responsible for right action, but they cannot possess every outcome. A family may perform every ritual and still dream of the departed. It may say every prayer and still feel sadness in a certain room. This does not mean the actions failed. Spiritual practice is not a machine that produces emotional numbness. Grief has its own rhythm. The goal is not to erase love or memory. The goal is to remove the demand that the departed remain physically or psychically present. There is also a difference between honoring ancestors and calling a particular soul back into the house. Ancestor remembrance can express gratitude for the lives through which the family came into being. It can inspire humility and ethical responsibility. But remembrance should not become an attempt to control, summon, or interrogate the dead. Honor looks backward with gratitude while still walking forward. Obsession looks backward until it can no longer walk at all. The soul's journey and the family's healing mirror each other. As the departed releases the home, the family must release the form in which it knew the person. Both sides of the relationship are being asked to accept change. The departed must learn, I am not only the role I played there. The family must learn, love is not limited to the body we lost. This mutual release is one of death's hidden teachings. A man may spend his life believing that his family belongs to him. After his death, the family may believe that his soul still belongs to them. Both beliefs arise from the same illusion of possession. No soul belongs to another soul. People meet through karma, love one another, learn together, create duties, and share a portion of the journey. Some remain for decades, while others pass through briefly and change everything. But every soul ultimately travels through experiences that no family member can fully share. Even the deepest human bond cannot remove this individuality. Two people may hold hands at the edge of death, but only one crosses at that moment. Understanding this does not make relationships less precious. It makes them sacred because they cannot be owned. When you know that every meeting is temporary, you stop wasting years on pride. You apologize sooner. You listen more carefully. You say what needs to be said. You stop assuming there will always be another morning. Death teaches the value of love by revealing that its earthly form has a limit. The departed person's attachment to home may therefore carry a message for the living. Do not wait until the body dies to begin releasing what was never permanent. Practice letting go now. Give away something you do not need. Forgive someone before the final hour. Teach your children to stand without you. Arrange practical matters so confusion does not follow your death. Tell your family that when your journey ends, they must not destroy themselves trying to call you back. Make your love strong enough to survive release. Each night, before sleep takes you into a temporary withdrawal from the visible world, remember, this day is complete. These possessions are not my eternal identity. These people are loved, but they are not mine to own. If tomorrow comes, I will serve again. If it does not, may I leave without clinging. Such remembrance is not pessimism, it is freedom. The person who remembers death lives more fully because they do not postpone truth. They enjoy the house without worshipping it. They love their family without imprisoning them. They perform duty without imagining themselves irreplaceable. They receive each day as a gift rather than a guarantee. When death finally arrives, it does not take everything from such a person. Much has already been offered willingly. This is why the final state of consciousness holds such importance in the Bhagavad Gita. The direction of the mind at death reflects the tendencies cultivated throughout life. A final thought is rarely an isolated accident. It often rises from what consciousness practiced repeatedly. If the mind practiced possession, it may think of property. If it practiced fear, it may grasp at the body. If it practiced control, it may worry about unfinished authority. If it practiced devotion, truth, and surrender, those pathways are more available when the final moment comes. The way we die is being prepared by the way we live. No one can guarantee complete calm at death. Pain, illness, medication, confusion, or sudden circumstances may affect the final moments. Spiritual teaching should never be used to blame someone for dying in distress. What matters is the deeper orientation shaped across a lifetime, not a simplistic judgment of one visible instant. Compassion must remain greater than speculation. For those present near a dying person, the atmosphere matters. Speak calmly. Avoid arguments around the bed. Do not force the person to carry new worries. If possible, reassure them that the family will care for one another. Offer sacred words meaningful to them. Give permission to rest. Sometimes a dying parent appears to wait until a child arrives. Sometimes they seem unable to release while family members panic around them. A gentle sentence may bring peace. We love you. We will be all right. You may let go when you are ready. This is not giving up on the person. Medical care and hope may continue where appropriate. But when death is clearly approaching, love should not demand that the body continue only because the family cannot accept the goodbye. The same principle continues after death. Do not demand signs. Do not command return. Do not build a permanent shrine of despair. Do not frighten children. Do not accuse relatives of disturbing the soul simply because they grieve differently. Do not allow anyone to profit from terror. Do not use the departed person's name to control inheritance or family decisions. Above all, do not mistake attachment for devotion. Devotion liberates. Attachment possesses. Devotion says, "May you move according to the highest good." Attachment says, "Remain where I can still feel you." Devotion trusts the journey. Attachment trusts only the familiar house. The seventh revelation is that even when a soul appears unwilling to leave, it is not stronger than the cosmic law carrying all beings through change. The pull of home may be powerful, but it is not ultimate. The pull of karma is deeper. The call of spiritual evolution is deeper. The truth of the eternal self is deeper still. A wave may cling to its shape for one moment, but the ocean is already moving through it. The individual says, "This is my form, my place, my family, my life." The ocean of existence answers, "You have never been only this." Death removes the temporary shape so that the deeper journey may continue. The family's sacred responsibility is not to push the soul away with fear, nor to drag it backward with grief. It is to stand at the threshold with love and allow the current to carry what no human hand can hold forever. If you feel that someone you love has not fully left the home, do not begin with terror, begin with truth. Acknowledge the death. Accept what can no longer continue. Settle what remains within your responsibility. Forgive what cannot be changed. Honor the person through goodness. Bring light and life back into the household. Offer prayer without demanding a visible response. Then speak a final blessing from the deepest place in your heart. You came into this home as a traveler, and you filled it with your presence. You loved, struggled, worked, protected, learned, and gave what you could. Your body has completed its time here. These rooms will remember you, but they cannot contain you. These possessions once served you, but they cannot follow you. We will carry the lessons, fulfill the worthy duties, and release the pain. You do not need to return for our sake. You do not need to guard what is no longer yours. You do not need to remain the person you once were. May every chain of fear, guilt, anger, and attachment fall away. May your journey continue under the highest wisdom. May you move from confusion toward clarity, from clinging toward freedom, and from memory of the temporary toward knowledge of the eternal. After speaking, allow silence to come. Do not immediately ask for a sign that the words were heard. The need for proof is another form of attachment. Let the blessing be complete in itself. Trust that sincere love does not need to control what happens next. Perhaps the greatest mystery of death is not where the soul goes. It is why the living believe love must keep someone near in order to remain real. The Vedic answer is that reality is deeper than nearness. The eternal cannot be measured by distance. What is spiritually true does not depend upon a body sitting in the same room. The person may no longer be present in the form you recognize, yet the love you shared can still mature into wisdom. Their absence can teach you to release. Their memory can teach you how to live. Their death can prepare you for your own. When this transformation occurs, the home stops asking, "Why will the soul not leave?" Instead, the heart asks, "What must I release so that both of us can be free?" That is the final door, and it does not open for the departed alone. It opens for everyone who has mistaken holding on for love. The soul's destiny is not to remain forever beside an empty bed, behind a closed door, or within the walls of a fading house. Its journey is greater than the life it has completed, greater than the name it once answered to, and greater than the memories that call it backward. Karma moves. Consciousness continues. Forms change. The eternal remains. When the family understands this, grief becomes prayer, memory becomes blessing, and the house that once felt like a prison becomes what it was always meant to be, a temporary shelter from which every soul must one day depart. So never beg the dead to return. Love them enough to open the door. When someone dies, the body leaves our reach, but love does not disappear with it. Love remains in familiar rooms, in unfinished conversations, in the silence surrounding an empty chair, and in the sudden memory that arrives without warning. It remains in the way we still turn toward the door, expecting to hear footsteps that once belonged to an ordinary day. It remains in the heart's refusal to understand how someone who filled an entire home can suddenly no longer be seen. Perhaps this is why the idea of a soul remaining near its home touches us so deeply. Beneath the mystery lies a question almost every grieving heart has asked. If they loved us, why would they leave? But Vedic wisdom invites us to ask a different question. If we truly love them, can we allow them to continue? Throughout these 7 lessons, we have discovered that death ends the body, but it may not instantly dissolve every attachment formed during life. The individual consciousness may still carry impressions of identity, family, possessions, fear, and responsibility. A person who spent decades saying, "This is my home, these are my people, and everything depends upon me," may find release more difficult than someone who practiced surrender before the final breath. We learned that sudden death can deepen this confusion. When a person receives no time to prepare, say goodbye, or understand what is happening, consciousness may remain oriented toward the last place that felt safe. The home becomes a symbol of the life that ended without warning. We learned that possessions can become invisible chains. The house, wealth, jewelry, land, and treasured objects cannot follow the departed, but the habit of ownership may remain powerful. The body dies with empty hands, yet the mind may still be whispering, "Mine." We also discovered that the family's grief can pull backward. Desperate words such as "come back," "do not leave us," and "we cannot live without you" arise from pain, but they can transform love into an emotional rope. Sacred love does not deny grief. It changes the direction of grief. Instead of demanding return, it offers release. We learned that unfinished responsibilities may keep the departed symbolically turned toward home. A parent may worry about a child, a partner may fear for the family, a debt, promise, apology, or act of protection may remain incomplete. The living can bring peace by accepting these responsibilities, resolving what can be resolved, and assuring the departed that their earthly duty has ended. We learned to practice discernment. Not every dream, sound, fragrance, flickering light, or moving shadow proves that a soul is trapped. Grief alters memory, perception, sleep, and the nervous system. Some experiences may feel spiritually meaningful, while others have ordinary explanations. Wisdom neither mocks the mystery nor feeds superstition. It responds with humility, reason, compassion, and calmness. Finally, we discovered the deepest truth. Even intense attachment cannot imprison the soul forever. The eternal Atman is not owned by a body or a building. The journeying consciousness may look backward, but karma continues to call it forward. The soul's path is greater than one lifetime, one family role, or one home. A river may pause around stones, but it still seeks the ocean. If you are grieving someone today, you may still feel their presence in places they once loved. You may enter a room and feel the past become alive. You may awaken from a dream so vivid that the loss feels new again. You may wonder whether they are peaceful, whether they can hear you, or whether something remains unfinished. You do not need to answer every mystery. You do not need to interpret every sign. You do not need to force certainty where life has left silence. What you can do is purify the love that remains. If guilt remains, speak the apology you never spoke. If anger remains, begin the difficult work of forgiveness. If a practical responsibility remains, face it honestly. If someone vulnerable depended upon the departed, care for them. If conflict has divided the family, stop using the dead as a reason to continue it. If a promise can be fulfilled with wisdom, fulfill it. If it can no longer be fulfilled, release it without fear, then let the home breathe again. Open the windows. Allow sunlight to enter the room that sorrow kept closed. Clean with respect, not with the intention of erasing the person. Share a meal. Speak their name with gratitude. Tell stories that include laughter as well as tears. Allow children to play without teaching them to fear the darkness. The return of life to the home does not dishonor the dead. It completes the gift they left behind. The person you lost did not love you so that you would remain broken forever. They did not protect you so that you would become helpless after their death. They did not share their life with you so that your life would end when theirs did. The highest way to honor them is to become a living expression of whatever was best within them. If they were generous, become more generous. If they offered wisdom, live by it. If they protected others, protect someone vulnerable. If they made mistakes, learn from those mistakes instead of repeating them. If they loved you, allow that love to make you stronger, kinder, and more awake. Do not preserve only their possessions. Preserve their goodness. Do not inherit only their wealth. Inherit their wisdom. Do not remember only how they died. Remember how they taught you to live. A home should not become a museum of the final day. It should become fertile ground where the departed person's best qualities continue to grow. There may come a morning when you move something they once touched, and you no longer feel guilty. There may come a day when you laugh at one of their old stories without immediately crying. There may come a night when you sleep peacefully and realize you did not search the darkness for a sign. Do not be ashamed of that healing. It does not mean love has ended. It means love is no longer demanding that pain prove its existence. Many grieving people secretly believe that if they stop suffering, the departed will be forgotten. So they guard their sadness as though it were the last remaining connection. But sorrow is not the only bridge between souls. Gratitude is a bridge, prayer is a bridge, forgiveness is a bridge, goodness performed in their memory is a bridge. Pain may begin the journey of grief, but it does not have to become its final destination. The house may always contain reminders. A corner may still feel different. A festival may still reveal an empty place. A particular fragrance or song may still bring tears many years later. Healing does not erase these moments. It gives you the strength to receive them without collapsing. You can pause and say, "Thank you for the life we shared. May you be at peace, and may I live well." Then continue. That final word matters. Continue. The departed must continue according to the mystery of their journey, and the living must continue according to the responsibilities still before them. Death creates a separation, but it also creates a sacred duty. Neither side should be held back by attachment. The soul must release its earthly identity. The family must release the physical form of the relationship. The home must release the belief that its walls can preserve what time has already transformed. This release is not coldness. It is one of the purest forms of love. Possessive love says, "You belong to me, so you must remain." Fearful love says, "I cannot survive without you, so you must return." Guilty love says, "I still owe you something, so neither of us can move forward." But awakened love says, "Our meeting was sacred, our time was temporary, and the goodness between us does not need a physical body to remain meaningful." That is love without chains. Perhaps the departed person carried fear at the end. Perhaps they worried about you. Perhaps their death was sudden, painful, or surrounded by words that were never completed. You cannot return to that moment and change its details, but you can change what happens inside your heart now. You can stop repeating the final scene. You can stop making the moment of death larger than the entire life. You can remember the years of ordinary goodness that came before it. The meals, journeys, disagreements, forgiveness, small sacrifices, shared silence, and countless moments that seemed unimportant until they were gone. A person's life is larger than the way it ended. When you remember the whole life, the memory becomes spacious enough for love to breathe. If you believe the departed remained concerned about the family, show them through your actions that their concern no longer needs to continue. Become responsible. Care for one another. Stop the quarrels they once tried to resolve. Protect the child they worried about. Complete the honest duty they left behind. Then say within your heart, "You prepared us more than you knew. We will stand now." If you believe they remained attached to possessions, handle those belongings with fairness. Do not turn inheritance into war. Give what can help others. Preserve what carries genuine meaning, and release what has completed its purpose. Then say, "These objects served your life, but they are not your identity. Nothing here can hold you." If you believe they remained because of conflict, refuse to keep feeding the anger. Speak the truth where necessary, correct injustice where possible, and release the demand to change what cannot be changed. Then say, "Nothing more is owed between us. I release you, and I release myself." If you believe they remained because your grief kept calling them backward, let your next prayer carry a different message. Do not say, "Come back." Say, "Go peacefully." Do not say, "I cannot live without you." Say, "Your love will help me live." Do not say, "This home will never change." Say, "This home will carry your blessing as life continues." Do not say, "Give me one more sign." Say, "I trust what I cannot control." There is enormous spiritual power in changing the direction of a single sentence. The Vedic path does not ask us to become indifferent to death. It asks us to awaken through it. Every funeral reminds us that the body is temporary. Every empty chair teaches us that time cannot be owned. Every inheritance reveals that possessions only change hands. Every unfinished conversation warns us not to delay forgiveness. The death of another person is also a message addressed to the living. One day, your home will continue without you. Your room will become someone else's room. Your possessions will be divided, donated, sold, or forgotten. Your photographs will remain for a time, but even the people who remember you will one day leave. What, then, are you building that death cannot immediately take? Are you building kindness in the hearts of others? Are you passing wisdom to your children? Are you creating peace instead of conflict? Are you learning to release pride? Are you preparing your consciousness through truth, devotion, and self-knowledge? The most important preparation for death is not deciding what will happen to everything you own. It is discovering who you are when nothing can be called yours. A wise person lives inside the home as a grateful guest. They care for it, bless it, and make it a place of shelter, but they do not ask it to become eternal. They love their family with their whole heart, but they do not imprison anyone inside the words "mine forever." They accept responsibility while remembering that another person must one day continue the work. Such a person is already practicing the art of departure. Every night becomes a small surrender. Every act of generosity loosens a chain. Every forgiveness closes an unfinished door. Every moment of meditation reminds consciousness that it is more than the body, role, and name. Then, when the final call comes, the soul does not need to learn everything at once. The home may still weep, but the heart is prepared to bless it and move. And if you are the one standing behind, watching someone you love leave, remember that the door of death does not open through force. You cannot push the soul forward through fear, and you should not drag it backward through desperation. Stand at the threshold with dignity. Carry love in one hand and surrender in the other. Say what must be said, then allow silence to complete the prayer, if it feels right within your tradition and heart. Close your eyes now and think of the person you are still struggling to release. Do not search for their face inside the darkness. Simply bring their memory into the light of gratitude. Remember one kindness they offered. Remember one lesson their life taught you. Remember one burden you are now willing to stop carrying. Then speak these words slowly. You were never only the body we lost. You were never only the role you played in this home. You came into our lives, and your presence changed us. For all the love you gave, we thank you. For all the pain between us, we seek forgiveness. For every duty left unfinished, we will respond with wisdom. For every possession left behind, we will act with fairness. For every fear you carried about us, we now offer reassurance. We will continue. You do not need to remain at the doorway. You do not need to protect us through the night. You do not need to guard the objects you once owned. You do not need to repeat the final moment. Whatever belongs to the earth, we return to the earth. Whatever belongs to memory, we hold with gratitude. Whatever belongs to your onward journey, we release without fear. May confusion become clarity. May attachment become freedom. May unfinished pain become forgiveness. May the path before you open according to the highest wisdom. We will not call you backward. We will honor you by living truthfully, loving deeply, and releasing peacefully. Now breathe. Let the prayer end without demanding an answer. The absence of a sign does not mean the absence of peace. Silence may be the most merciful response because it asks you to trust what cannot be proven through the senses. Walk back into your life. Love the people who are still here. Speak the words you have postponed. Resolve the conflicts that pride keeps alive. Share what you do not need. Prepare your heart before the final hour prepares it for you. One day, you too will stand beyond the reach of everything you now call home. May you not look backward in fear. May your family not bind you through despair. May the life you live today prepare everyone to release you with peace when that moment comes. This is the golden truth hidden inside death. Nothing real is destroyed by letting go. Possession ends, but gratitude remains. The body ends, but the spiritual mystery continues. The house changes, but the lessons born there travel into other lives. The relationship changes form, but love purified of attachment becomes a blessing rather than a chain. So if your loved one seems close, do not be afraid. Offer peace. If they appear in a dream, do not become obsessed. Offer gratitude. If the home feels heavy, do not feed the darkness. Bring in light, prayer, truth, and life. If your heart keeps calling them backward, place your hand upon it, and remember, you do not honor a traveler by closing the road. You honor them by blessing the journey. May every soul that has completed its earthly time be released from fear, possessiveness, guilt, and unfinished attachment. May every grieving family receive courage, discernment, and peace. May every home touched by death become a place where memory is honored without being imprisoned. And may we all understand, before our final breath, that the soul's true home was never made of walls. If this message brought peace or helped you understand a loss you still carry, write in the comments, "I release with love." Share this video with someone whose heart may still be waiting at an empty doorway. Subscribe to Akashic Vedas for more ancient wisdom about karma, death, rebirth, consciousness, and the soul's hidden journey. Until we meet again, remember this final truth. The purest love does not beg the soul to stay. It whispers, "Go peacefully, I will carry the light you left behind."